A sniper takes aim from a rooftop. A senator raises his glass. Then the lights go out across the entire city. What followed was not just a killing. It was a reckoning. It began on a Tuesday. The sky over St. Paul was pale gray, a flat ceiling pressing down on the city. Cold air laced with sleet whispered to the narrow alley behind the Capitol building. Councilman Richard Halvorson stepped out of his silver sedan, adjusting his scarf. His breath billowed like smoke. The sound of his shoes echoed on the wet pavement. He did not see the figure standing motionless in the shadows. Only the sudden flicker of motion behind the dumpster caught his eye. Too late. A single gunshot rang out. It was clean, precise. Not a sound of struggle. Not a scream. Just a metallic thud of his body hitting the concrete. The smell of burnt powder mixed with damp asphalt. It took 15 minutes before someone found him. By then, the killer had vanished. No witnesses. No cameras. Just a bullet lodged in the wall. And a smear of blood trailing down the alley. It was not random. 3 days later, it happened again. Councilwoman Denise Mercer was speaking at a town hall in Duluth. The community center buzzed with mild agitation. Citizens asking about budgets, infrastructure, school zoning. Denise's voice was steady, practiced, until the lights flickered. A sharp bang silenced the room. The back window shattered inward. Denise slumped behind the podium. Blood splattered the county map behind her. People screamed. Chairs scraped. Someone pulled a fire alarm. But the shooter was already gone. 2 politicians. 3 days. Both killed with a single bullet to the chest. Police called it unprecedented. The governor called it an act of terror. The public called it war. Panic gripped the legislature. Security tripled. Helicopters circled the Capitol. Men in suits whispered in hallways, their faces drawn, their eyes scanning every corner. Reporters camped outside government buildings. Still, the third killing came without warning. Senator James Lyle, a moderate with few enemies, was found in his Minneapolis home. His wife discovered him slumped over a piano. There were no broken windows, no forced entry. The front door had been locked from the inside. His mouth hung open, eyes wide, a single hole in the center of his forehead. The police were silent on details, but the expression on the detective's face as he exited the house said everything. The assassin was inside that home, for hours, perhaps, waiting, breathing the same air, listening to the senator's footsteps, the clink of ice in his glass, the creak of floorboards, then choosing the moment. The silence in the room was heavy with intent. Investigators began linking the victims. All 3 had received the same anonymous letter in early April. Typed, no return address. It read, "You have failed us." Only that, each had dismissed it, a prank, a threat from some fringe group. But now the FBI had the letter under analysis. The paper was common, the ink smudged, but the fold was peculiar, tight and neat, with a diagonal crease not often seen in American correspondence. Someone with military precision had touched it. Agents traced the paper to a print shop in Rochester. They questioned the owner. He remembered a man in a gray coat, no visible features, who paid in cash. The surveillance system had failed that day. The time stamp froze at 14:37. Everything after was static. By the time they reached the footage backup, the hard drive was missing. At the next city council meeting in Mankato, the room buzzed with fear. A metal detector beeped intermittently. Every cough or sudden noise caused heads to whip around. Councilman Tom Resnick sat near the window. He tapped his fingers anxiously on a yellow legal pad. Outside, the wind howled. Tree branches scraped against the glass like claws. The meeting dragged on. Suddenly, the window behind Tom shattered inward. A bullet passed through the side of his neck. He spun, eyes wide, clutching his throat. Blood spurted onto the table. The room dissolved into chaos. Shouts, screams, feet pounding, sirens wailing in the distance. But the killer had struck from over 100 yards away. A hilltop, perhaps, covered in snow and pines. A ghost in the woods. A predator with no face. No one saw where the shot came from. They only saw the window break, and Tom falling forward, still gasping. Over the next few weeks, a pattern emerged. Each victim had voted against a controversial bill 3 months earlier. The bill had aimed to audit several government contracts tied to defense spending. The proposal had failed by only a narrow margin. And now, those who opposed it were dying, one by one, each shot clean, each kill planned. In silence, Senator Loretta Weiss began traveling with armed guards. She refused to sit near windows, kept the curtains drawn at home. She carried a revolver in her purse, her finger always resting near the trigger. But fear cannot stop inevitability. Her motorcade was ambushed outside a hotel in St. Cloud. 3 shots, 2 bodyguards dead. She fled into the kitchen, clattering pans, steam, shouting staff. She ducked behind a prep table, heart racing. Something moved past the pantry door. A black boot. She held her breath. Sweat dripped into her eyes. The stainless steel surface of the fridge reflected a distorted silhouette. Closer, closer, a soft scrape of metal. She aimed her revolver at the door, but her hands were shaking. The door creaked open. A flash of motion. A single shot. Loretta squeezed the trigger. The revolver roared in the tight space. The figure staggered backward, but did not fall. Another shot, not hers, cracked through the air. Pain ripped through Loretta's shoulder. She dropped the revolver. It clattered against the tile, spinning beneath a rack of pots. She screamed, fell sideways. The floor was slick with spilled oil and blood. She crawled, dragging herself beneath a metal shelving unit. The gunman moved without hurry, measured steps, boots clicking on linoleum. He was wearing a matte black coat, no insignia, no skin visible, just cold, deliberate motion. He stopped at the fallen bodyguard at the kitchen entrance, picked up the man's earpiece, pressed it to his own ear. He listened for several seconds, then crushed it underfoot. Loretta's breath came in short bursts. The scent of raw onions burned her nose. Somewhere, steam hissed from a busted pipe. The killer stepped closer. She could hear the leather creak on his gloves. The angle of his footfalls changed. He was circling. She reached for the dropped revolver. Fingertips brushing the grip, it slipped further away. He saw her hand, raise the barrel. The room froze. Then, shouting, footsteps, heavy boots rushing through the corridor. The gunman turned. For the first time, Loretta saw a flicker of hesitation. He pivoted, fast, ran toward the back exit. A security officer burst into the kitchen just as the door slammed shut behind the assassin. Blood streaked the tiles. Loretta groaned, clutching her shoulder, her blouse soaked red. The officer knelt beside her. She was alive, but only barely. The killer had missed her heart by inches. The bullet had gone clean through. She would survive, for now, but the attack sent shockwaves through the entire state. Senators began resigning en masse. Some fled the state. Others hired private security firms with military backgrounds. St. Paul resembled a fortress. Helicopters hovered over every government building. Barricades sprouted like weeds. Still, the fear did not stop the next murder. Counselor Julian Ames was taken in his driveway. No sniper this time. No distant shot. His throat was slit. Up close. Personal. He had been scraping ice off his windshield. The assassin waited in the bushes, unseen under the flickering streetlight. Neighbors later claimed they heard nothing, only the rhythmic scrape of the ice tool, then silence, and the sound of a car door left open. Julian's blood had pooled into the snow, a dark, steaming red that spread like ink and water. Police found a note pinned to his chest with a sewing needle. Typed identical font. You have failed us. Again, no prints, no DNA, no surveillance footage, only terror. Public outrage boiled over. Protests, press conferences, demand for answers. The FBI established a task force, codename Black Star, a blend of counterterrorism agents, forensic profilers, and cybersecurity experts. They worked around the clock, connecting voting records, mapping victim locations, reviewing every frame of traffic cam footage. Still no face, no motive clear enough to hold. But the profiler noticed something, a rhythm. Each attack aligned with an anniversary. Military operations, classified ones, old missions buried in redacted files, operations that had gone wrong, names no longer on the public record. But each mission had resulted in civilian casualties, collateral damage, and some of the current legislators had once been attached to oversight committees or funding subcommittees. The assassin was not just killing lawmakers. He was targeting those tied to forgotten deaths, paper trails, whitewashed incidents, shadows of war. The killer, they now believed, was a veteran, possibly special forces, someone with access, patience, and a code, someone who saw himself not as a murderer, but as executioner. The killings resumed with brutal confidence. Mayor Louise Hart, shot while jogging along the Mississippi River Trail, a quiet place, dawn mist still rising from the water. Her body lay beneath an elm tree, eyes open toward the sky. The bullet entered through the base of her skull. She never heard the shot. A cyclist found her 30 minutes later. Next was State Auditor Blake Rehm. He drowned in his own hot tub. The cover had been locked from the outside. His body bloated, lips blue, water red. Security logs showed no breach, but the lock was scratched as if picked. The note, again, lay beside the tub, folded precisely. "You have failed us." The message no longer needed explanation. The media adopted the phrase like a curse. "You have failed us." It became a chant, a hashtag, a haunting. Even those who voted with clean conscience began looking over their shoulders. It was not politics anymore. It was retribution. The killer had become myth. The man with no name. A ghost behind every curtain. A breath behind every closed door. One morning, an encrypted message arrived at the FBI field office. No origin traceable. Only a short video. Black screen. Then a slow fade. A desk. 3 photos laid out. One was Senator Lisa Tran. The second was Governor Alan Keene. The third was a child, a girl, 8, maybe 9, standing in front of a military hospital, smiling, a red balloon in her hand. The caption appeared slowly, each word deliberate. "She died screaming." Then static. Analysts worked for 48 hours straight. They matched the girl to a bombing in Kandahar, 2011, an orphanage misidentified as a weapons cache. No survivors. The funding for that operation pushed through by the very senators now in hiding. Now, the assassin was drawing a line between past and present. This was not revenge. This was judgment. Governor Keene canceled all public appearances, retreated to a private compound in rural Otter Tail County, surrounded by forest and motion sensors. He trusted no one. Not aides, not staff, not even his wife. Every night, he reviewed his security logs himself, double-checked locks, walked the perimeter with a rifle slung over his shoulder. On the 5th night, something changed. One of the cameras glitched, just for 3 seconds, then resumed. Nothing else seemed off. But Keene could not shake the feeling. The next morning, his dog was dead, strangled, laid neatly on the porch. Its eyes were open, its mouth stuffed with a copy of the Kandahar mission report. Keene vomited into the bushes. Inside, he loaded his pistol, sat at the kitchen table, and waited all day. No knock came, no motion detected. But that night, as he entered his bedroom, he noticed something on the wall, written in black marker just above the headboard. A single word. Tonight. He ran down the hall, gun trembling in his hand. He burst into the panic room, slammed the door, engaged the bolts. But on the screen, the security feed, there was already someone inside the house, a figure moving through the dining room. Slow, precise, methodical. Governor Keene stared, hands shaking. The man looked directly into one of the cameras, raised a single glove finger, and placed it against where his lips would be. The feed cut out. Keene screamed, pounded the panic button. Static. No response. Outside, the wind picked up. A branch scratched against the side of the safe room. Then silence. Then a voice. Inside the panic room. Behind him. Low. Calm. You have failed her. Keene turned and froze. Governor Keene's mouth opened, but no sound came. He stared at the man who now stood less than 10 feet from him. The panic room was sealed. There was no door left unbolted, no secret entrance. But the man was here, inside, watching him. The assassin wore all black. His face was covered by a matte mask. No features, just 2 dark eye holes. But Keene felt the weight of those eyes pressing into him. You have failed her, the voice repeated. It was quiet, flat, mechanical, filtered through a voice distorter. Keene raised his pistol. His hands trembled violently. I do not know who she was, he stammered. The figure did not move, did not blink. You signed her death warrant. Keene stepped back until his shoulders touched the cold steel wall. I was told. It was a high-value target. Intel from command. I never meant. She was 8. The voice sliced through him. She was not a target. She was a child. A moment passed. Then a click. The assassin drew a small recording device from his coat. Press play. A young girl's voice, faint, garbled, echoed in the room. Sister, where are you? I smell smoke. Keene dropped the pistol. His legs buckled beneath him. He sank to the floor. Tears filled his eyes. She died calling for help, the assassin said. For 3 minutes. Another click. Another voice. This time, a soldier's. Confirmed detonation. Command, no movement. Target eliminated. Looks like kids. Oh, God. Oh. Click. Silence. Keene shook his head. No, I did not hear this. They never told me. That is not what we were briefed. They buried it. They always do. The man walked slowly forward. Keene pressed against a wall, as if trying to vanish inside it. I have money, he said, voice cracking. I can confess. I can speak publicly. We can fix it. The assassin crouched beside him. The matte black of his mask reflected nothing. You cannot fix what you erase. From his coat, he drew a long, thin blade. Surgical. Sterile. Keene gasped. He tried to crawl, but there was nowhere to go. The walls closed in. A sharp, icy pain split across his abdomen. He screamed. Then another. The blade moved with clinical precision. Not frenzied. Not rushed. Each cut purposeful. The assassin stood, watched the governor writhe in agony, then walked to the panel on the wall. He typed a string of numbers. The room lights dimmed. A hidden server behind the wall began humming. Data poured onto the screen. Encrypted files. Coordinates. Names. Dates. It had been buried under layers of protocol. But it was here. The archive of classified war records. Keene had kept it hidden. A record of every operation that passed through his hands. The assassin began to copy everything to a drive. Behind him, Keene moaned. He was fading fast. Blood pooled beneath him, soaking into the concrete. His hands twitched. His lips trembled. The killer turned one last time. You do not get to forget. Then he was gone. The panic room remained locked from the inside. When agents arrived hours later, the security override failed. They used thermal tools to cut their way in. Inside, they found Governor Keene's body in a pool of blood. His eyes stared blankly at the ceiling. On the wall behind him, written in crimson, how many names are left? The flash drive was gone. The security footage wiped. No fingerprints. Only the smell of iron and smoke. That same week, 2 more senators resigned without explanation. One fled to Canada. Another vanished entirely. The public wanted answers, but the press only had questions. Whispers spread in D.C., in diplomatic back channels, that someone was coming for all of them, a phantom with a cause. No clear agenda, no political allegiance, just a message written in blood. You have failed us. And now, across Minnesota, lawmakers sat in silence, waiting, wondering, not if the assassin would strike again, but when and where, and which one of them would be next. Then came the package. delivered to the State House. Unmarked, no postage, just a black envelope inside. Within it, 6 photographs, each of a current legislator, their homes, their cars, their families, and scrawled across all of them, "Your past is not buried. It is waiting." That night, sirens wailed across the Capitol. Helicopters searched the sky. Lights flickered in office buildings where no one dared work late. Inside a darkened apartment complex in Bloomington, another figure stirred, sitting alone, studying blueprints, a rifle in parts on the table, each piece carefully cleaned, laid out like surgical instruments. He reached for a photograph taped to the wall. It showed a rural schoolyard, smiling children running under a clear blue sky. At the edge of the frame, fire, debris, and one body, small, covered in dust. A shadow passed over the photograph. The man nodded once. He stood and began to assemble the rifle, each motion smooth, fluent, silent. Tonight, another reckoning was coming, and outside, the wind began to rise. The rifle came together like a memory. Bolt, barrel, scope, magazine. Each piece snapped into place with reverent precision. He worked in silence, in darkness. The only light was from the soft glow of a desk lamp, its shade tilted downward, casting a narrow halo over the weapon. Outside the apartment window, the city breathed, tires on wet asphalt, a distant horn, somewhere laughter. Unaware, unconcerned, he adjusted the sight, aligning it with a map pinned to the wall. Red pins dotted a path through Minnesota. Each marked a site of policy, a vote, a betrayal. But tonight was not about the past. Tonight was about justice. He reached for a photograph. A man in his early 60s, short, balding. Senator Charles Rehm, a name lost to most, but not to him. Rehm had chaired a covert oversight board during the early 2000s. He had approved weapons testing in conflict zones labeled uninhabited. They were not. Children had died. Villages erased. Then silence. No hearings. No reports. Only a sanitized paragraph buried in a defense review. But now, Rehm was back in the spotlight, running for governor. His campaign slogan, "A clearer Minnesota." His posters plastered bus stops and overpasses. Smiling. Untouchable. But tonight, that smile would fade. The assassin packed the rifle into a hard shell case. He moved like vapor. Low noise. Minimal footprint. No fingerprints on surfaces. No fibers left behind. He wore gloves, even inside his own safe house. His breath steady. His eyes cold. He was not driven by rage. Rage clouded judgment. He was driven by memory. By names. By faces. By the silence that followed their deaths. He stepped into the hallway, locking the door behind him. Then down the stairs, past sleeping neighbors who would never know they lived beside a ghost. He reached the garage, slipped into a stolen maintenance van. Inside, beneath a false floor, gear, tools, disguises. Everything needed. He drove without music, without distraction. His focus narrowed to a pinpoint. Rehm's campaign fundraiser was in a glass-walled banquet hall on the 42nd floor of the Argent Tower, open to the skyline, perfect visibility and vulnerability. He had already been there days ago. As a caterer, he had studied the layout, measured the angles, timed the guards. No one had noticed him then. They would not see him now. He parked 4 blocks away, entered a nearby construction site, ascended a skeletal stairwell. Wind buffeted him at the top. The building was unfinished, just steel beams and scaffolding, but it offered a clear line of sight to the banquet hall. He knelt behind a half-wall, opened the case, assembled the rifle in darkness. He checked the wind, the distance, the trajectory. Inside the banquet hall, laughter rippled. Crystal chandeliers swayed gently. Senator Rehm stood near the glass, a tumbler in hand. He was telling a story. People leaned in, smiling. The assassin slowed his breath, lined the shot, waited for Rehm to turn slightly, just enough. Time stretched. Then a hand touched his shoulder. He froze, turned, A man in a black coat stood behind him. No mask, weathered face, eyes like ice. "I know what you are doing," he said. The assassin did not speak. "I was there," the man added. "Kandahar, Fallujah, even the jungle ops in Colombia. I saw what they did." He held out a badge. "CIA long expired. Worn thin. You are not the only one." The wind howled between them. "Get out of my way," the assassin said. The other man smiled. "I will not stop you. But if you pull that trigger tonight," he stepped back, "it will all burn faster than you want it to." The assassin lowered the rifle slightly. "What do you mean?" "They want a martyr," the man said. "They expect a hit. They need a narrative. You give them that, Rehm becomes a symbol." He handed the assassin a flash drive. "Use this instead." "What is it?" "Proof. Of everything. Every operation. Every lie. Not just Rehm's. All of them." The assassin stared at the drive. His fingers clenched. "This is not justice." "No," the man agreed. "But it is the fire they cannot control." Inside the banquet hall, Rehm laughed again, raised his glass. The assassin looked through the scope one last time, then stood. He broke the rifle down, packed it, took the drive. The wind carried the sound of sirens far below. But up here it was silent. The other man was already gone. By the time the assassin reached the street, he was just another face, another shadow. He walked into the night, the flash drive in his pocket, his mission unfinished. But the reckoning just beginning. Inside a secure FBI cybercrime facility in St. Paul, an agent stared at her monitor. A file had just been uploaded from an unknown source. Classified clearances flashing red across her screen. She clicked once, then twice. The document opened, and her blood ran cold. Operation Nestor, Operation Calyx, Operation Yawn. Each title followed by casualty counts. Some were blacked out, others were not. Dates, coordinates, photos, dozens of names, legislators, contractors, private security heads, executions, detainments, children. The room began to spin. Her supervisor leaned over. "What is that?" She looked up, her lips parted, but before she could speak, the building's power surged. Screens flickered. An automated voice echoed through the hall. "Security lockdown in progress." And on every monitor, a message appeared in red text. "You have failed us." The screens glowed red. "You have failed us." The agent's fingers trembled. Her heart pounded. A low siren echoed down the corridor. She realized the building had gone silent. No chatter, no footsteps, only the hum of air systems. Then, a click. Her office door latched. Locked. From the corner of her eye, she saw an envelope slide beneath the door. Stamped, classified, eyes only. She swallowed hard, opened it with shaking hands. Inside, a single photograph, a close-up of her, taken hours ago, at her child's school. Recess, laughing, unaware, her chest clenched. She dropped the photo. It fluttered across her desk. She backed away, eyes locked on the door. It rattled. Someone tapped once. Then again. Tap, tap, tap. Her voice lodged in her throat. The siren stopped. Every monitor went blank. The lights dimmed. Every locked door hissed shut. Then, a voice. Calm, yet cold. "Do not move." The agent fell silent. Her pulse thundered in her ears. Someone was inside the building, watching, waiting. Outside, the city remained oblivious. Helicopters swept the sky. Strobe lights painted the streets below. But St. Paul's darkest crisis was unfolding within its own walls. The lights flickered again. A power reset. A fan whirred to life. The room's emergency backup light activated. A single bulb. Red. It cast long shadows. The agent swallowed. Fought off nausea. From behind came footsteps. They paused. Then, tap, soft, metal on concrete. A man cleared his throat. "Agent Wilson." The name cut through the silence. She dared not respond. Held her breath. "You've failed us." He repeated just like that. No emotion. No mercy. The emergency light revealed a black-coated figure. A man. No mask. He stepped forward. Well-dressed. Dead eyes. She recognized him. The CIA badge. The man from the rooftop. "You know why I am here." He motioned. A flash drive hovered in his glove hand. "Those files," he said, "are not enough. I need the originals." Her blood froze. "And if I do not give them to you?" He sighed, took a step closer. The room grew colder. He lifted the drive. "The next message will not be on a screen." The agent backed up. Her chair scraped across the floor. She collided into her desk. "You will not." Her voice cracked. He raised the drive. "I will find them." He turned, paused. "Make no mistake." He walked toward the door. "You have failed us." He exited. The emergency light snapped off. Silence. The room plunged into darkness. She sank to the floor. Tears streamed down her face. In the governor's mansion, aides whispered. The leaked files had hit the press. Half the legislature was in hiding. Even the National Guard had been called in. Public trust collapsed. Protests filled the streets. "Resign. Resign now." But the phone in the mansion did not ring. The assassin's promise had come true. No more broadcasts. No more leaks. Just judgment. Above the city, the man in black gazed across the skyline from a rooftop. He held the flash drive that had sealed the government's fate. His face remained unreadable under the streetlight. He slid the drive into a pocket. Then he checked his watch. It was nearly midnight. He ducked into the stairwell, descended, into the waiting vehicle below. A van with tinted windows, engine idling. He slid inside, closed the door. The driver started the engine. Siren gear sprang to life. They rolled away. Behind him, the rooftop lay empty, except for the rifle case. Open. A single piece of paper inside. Black ink. Bold. "We will not be forgotten." He would send another message. A louder one. The sky darkened. The city listened and waited. The van moved silently through the industrial sector. Streetlights flickered as it passed. Inside, the air was heavy with silence. The man in black stared ahead, not at the road, but past it, through it, as if seeing something still buried. The driver kept his hands tight on the wheel. He had not spoken since they left the rooftop. He would not. He was not meant to. They turned down a service road, passing a line of dormant factories, rust-lined fences. Old smokestacks choked in shadow. The van slowed near a crumbling warehouse. No markings. No cameras. Only a single red light above a steel door. It blinked once, then turned green. The door unlocked with a hiss. The van pulled inside, and the door sealed behind them. Darkness, until overhead fluorescence flickered to life. Inside, rows of monitors lit up. Men and women sat at terminals, all dressed in plain black. Silent, focused. Each screen displayed a file. Images of faces, security footage, email chains, government contracts. The war archive was alive. No longer just on one flash drive. It had multiplied. It had been seeded across the country. Servers, hard copies, human memory. The man in black stepped out of the van, walked between the rows of operators. They looked up, just for a second, then back to their work. No orders needed. Each person here had seen something, lost something, been abandoned, and chosen to remember. He reached a command desk at the far end. A large monitor displayed a digital map of the United States. Red points flared across the Midwest. Wisconsin, Iowa, North Dakota. Each point marked a target, confirmed or potential. Beneath the map, a list of names scrolled. Elected officials, corporate liaisons, military consultants, each linked to an incident buried by national security clearance. The man placed a flash drive into a central terminal. Data streamed, filling the final gaps. He turned to a woman beside him. She wore an earpiece, eyes locked on the screen. "You are cleared for Phase 3, he said. She nodded once, typed a command. The map zoomed in. A blinking yellow that appeared over Rochester. The screen displayed. Objective. Phoenix tier active. Below it, a name. Dr. Elias Rourke. The room went still. Rourke had not been seen publicly in 10 years. Once a military research head for experimental surveillance, he had disappeared after a whistleblower case went dead. No charges filed. No trial. Just silence. But the records showed something else. Rourke had not retired. He had been reassigned to a black site beneath the Mayo Research Annex, where rumors whispered he had developed AI-guided autonomous drones, tested not in simulations, but on live targets in foreign slums. Children were among the casualties. The man in black stared at the screen, his fingers curled into fists. Rourke is be extracted. Alive, he added. The woman hesitated, then nodded. She issued the command. Elsewhere, a black SUV rolled through Rochester. Inside, 3 figures. No insignia. No names. Their faces unreadable. The vehicle turned off its lights a block before the annex. They parked, waited, watched. Inside the building, lights still glowed. Guards moved in patterns. 1 at the door, 2 on the roof. Standard rotation, but not standard for long. A 4th figure slipped into the alley. He carried no weapon, only a small black case. He crouched near a service panel behind the loading bay, popped it open. Wires sparked. The exterior lights of the annex went dark. Inside, a ripple of motion. Guards scrambled. Flashlights flicked on. One of the rooftop guards radioed in. Possible grid disruption. Investigating now. He moved to the stairwell. Did not hear the footfall behind him. Did not feel the cold metal press against his neck. Before everything went black. Below, the annex door slid open. Someone had the clearance code. But how? No alarm triggered. No sensor tripped. Inside, Dr. Rourke sat in his lab, alone, surrounded by screens. He had not moved in hours. His eyes bloodshot. His fingers clutched the stylus, drawing arcs over an interface that tracked heat signatures. Rourke's system had no backdoor. He made sure of that. But still, the interface blinked. New data flooded in. Unrequested. Unidentified. Lines of code scrolled faster than he could read. He stood, turned. A figure stood in the doorway. Black coat, calm stance, face in shadow. Rourke's breath caught. "You should not be here," he said. The figure stepped forward. "I am exactly where I need to be. You know who I am." Rourke nodded slowly. Whispers from Washington. A ghost. A story told behind closed doors. They said you were dead. "I am." The lights flickered. Rourke backed away. "You will not make me disappear. I know things. I know names." The man in black reached into his coat, not for a weapon, for a tablet. He tossed it onto the desk. It lit up. Rourke's own work stared back at him. Footage, graphs, thermal reads, live strikes, all linked to his projects. "You leaked this?" "No," the man said. "I liberated it." Rourke's face paled. His hand shook. "What do you want?" "Justice," the man whispered. He stepped closer. Rourke scrambled backward. "There is no such thing," he spat. "Only power." "Exactly," the man replied. Then the screen behind him lit up. A final name appeared, linked to Rourke's last operation. An operation marked inactive, but not erased, not forgotten. And that name stopped Rourke cold. His knees gave way. He dropped to the floor, mouth trembling. It was the name of a girl. She had not been listed in any official record, but she was the reason he left the field, the reason he stopped sleeping. She was... The man in black stepped over him, spoke gently. "This is not revenge, Elias. This is memory." Then, in the corner of the lab, a soft whir, something powered up. A dormant machine blinked to life. Rourke turned, face filled with horror. No, you cannot use that. It is unfinished. You built it. You left it here. The man in black raised a hand, and the machine advanced one step. Its frame gleamed under the flickering lights. Its eyes pulsed red, and behind them, something old, something learned, something angry, and the man whispered, "Now, they will learn to remember." The machine stood still. Its red eye flickered. A soft hum buzzed through the lab, growing louder. Dr. Elias Rourke trembled at its feet. The man in black remained motionless, watching. "This is not justice," Rourke whispered. "It is revenge." The machine took one step forward, then another. Each movement was precise, measured, alive. But then it stopped, mid-stride. Its eye dimmed. The hum faltered. The man in black held up a small remote. A single button glowed. He had never intended to let the machine decide, only to let Rourke face what he had built, face the ghost he tried to bury. He turned to Rourke. "You did not kill her with your hands, but you let the program run. You signed off. You looked away." Rourke sank to his knees. "I tried to stop them," he said. "I filed reports. They vanished. They told me she was a glitch." Silence filled the lab. Then the man in black spoke again. She had a name. He placed a photograph on the floor. A girl with wide eyes, smiling, sunlight in her hair. Rourke reached out. His fingers hovered over the photo. He began to cry. "I remember," he said. "I see her face every night." The man nodded. "That is your sentence. To carry her." He turned away. Within hours, Rourke was extracted, escorted to a private tribunal held outside of official government channels. The files had already been distributed. Too many to suppress. Too many witnesses. One by one, names on the list began to fall. Not to bullets, but to public record, to testimony, to justice. Senator Rehm withdrew his campaign. He vanished from public life. Others were arrested, extradited, exposed, and still the files spread, not as a weapon, but as a mirror held up to a nation that forgot to ask who paid for its silence. The man in black never reappeared. Some said he died. Some said he walked into the woods and never returned. Others believed he was not one man, but many. The war archive was never taken offline. It became a library, a testimony, a graveyard of names and actions. Students read it in schools. Whistleblowers added to it. Victims were remembered. In time, the name of the girl, the one marked as collateral, was carved into the marble of a memorial. Below it, 5 simple words. She should have been heard. And the lesson remained. Injustice thrives in silence, but truth, even when buried, waits to be unearthed, not with vengeance, but with light.